if what the politicians have been speaking is anything to go by. So at this point, allow me to introduce the panel that we're going to discuss this with, and we're joined by Bobby Mkangi, who is a constitutional lawyer but also is a legal consultant. We are also joined by Honorable Farah Maalim, who is a former Speaker of the National Assembly. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us this morning for this discussion. And I'll start with you, Bobby, by virtue of the fact that being a constitutional lawyer, you're very well versed with the Constitution 2010. There are those who said that it was 80% good and 20% that needed to be amended, and that was not in contention. But for you, what stands out with this particular report that has come out?
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning. As you said, the 2010 Constitution, and especially during the run-up to the referendum, as then was, there are those who say that the Constitution had, for a good chunk of it, good provisions that would make the country go forward, and to some extent needed some improvement. And that is the nature of all constitutions in the world. And again, I would like to say that in terming the 80-20 proportions and what they represent, that is very subjective, because the nature of our constitution, and especially the 2010 negotiated consensus and also compromised constitutional making process that we had, not everyone got what they wanted. So of the 80% that somebody would feel is good, there were some issues that someone else wouldn't feel they are good. And of the 20% that some people felt were not good, there were some issues that were the take-home issues for them. So what I'm trying to imply is that it's very much a subjective issue of what is good and what is bad in a constitution. Okay. The report that has been forwarded to us by the BBI Steering Committee 1, I want to congratulate them for finalizing the task that they were given. And the good thing is that now Kenyans have the report, they have the constitutional amendment bill. So hopefully the conversation now will turn from the political formations and rhetoric and concentrate on the substantive and technical issues that the report has raised, the bill has raised, and we're going to have a very hot and informed debate, if I may say. But again, to say that we cannot divorce the political and social environment, ecosystem that exists in defining and debating the proposals that this report has and what the bill contains. So, all right,
and maybe just sorry to interrupt you. Just to get from you, what stands out in this report? There's been all manner of things said about the Building Bridges Initiative report by politicians, and would like to really just separate fact and fiction. But what stands out for you? Is this a document, in your feeling, that encompasses what Kenyans, possibly have been battling with for years?
You know what? After looking at the report, and I have to confess that I've done so cursorily, that I haven't finalized internalizing the entire report, and that will take some time. But what I've seen so far confirms the fact of what has been the rhetoric, and especially from the public so far. I haven't seen, a lot that is impressively new. The report actually reaffirms that the constitutional dispensation that we have right now is what Kenyans want, is what Kenyans feel should be implemented. And I think what stands out for me is what the report you carried out just before this discussion, that the issues of devolution and the amount of resources that will be allocated to counties is proposed to be increased from 15 to 35%. I took note of the inclusion of the proposal of the inclusion of a youth commission. I think that is a very good idea, and will go run a very, very good race for the youth of this country. I think the attempt to infuse gender parity in the Senate with a one man, one woman vote during elections is also very, very positive. But beyond the constitutional amendments, I like the very comprehensive undertaking that the committee did in looking at the policy proposals that can be used to ensure that even the current dispensation, if followed, if the administrative measures proposed can be used, then we could have a very good...
Bring in Honorable Farah Maalim, who's a former Speaker of the National Assembly, and thank you for joining us, sir. Your initial take out of this document, what stands out for you, sir? Hopefully we still have Honorable Farah Maalim.
There are a few things that stand out.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Hello. There are a few things that stand out, and I have a feeling a constitution is a living document, and a living document essentially means that it's something that
evolve
periodically has got to be revisited to see how you can perfect it better. And what stands out, in my opinion, more than anything else, is that additional amount of money that's going to be allocated to the counties, which essentially is, in my opinion, a good provision in the constitution itself. And then the winner take all thing that has bedeviled this country for quite a long time is now also going to be addressed. Plus the fact that there is power and authority with accountability. We have a system of governance right now where nobody is accountable to anybody for what they do. The president sits on the house in the hill. He does not come to the floor of the house. The ministers are from outside parliament. They don't have to come to the floor of the house to explain what the government is doing. But now we're going to have an executive that will be fully present in parliament, right from the prime minister down to the ministers, the cabinet itself. So we have experimented sufficiently for about 10 years now with the current constitution, and we have seen where the shortcomings are. And I'm glad, I'm happy that we do have a constitution that is closer right now as far as delivering the goodies or the goods to the masses of this country is involved and is concerned. So I have a feeling that it's a good constitution. It does not, we don't create a constitution. We do not make amendments to the constitution with people in mind. We have a nation in mind in this case right now, and that's essentially how it's come out, in my opinion. All right. I am happy with the way it is. I'm sure once we go through the complete, everything, there still are going to be a few areas where certain sections of the country would want to be revisited. I still want myself an inclusion, or rather a revisiting of what was called the Equalization Fund, to enable the areas that have been traditionally left behind, including Coast Province and Northern Kenya and the former NFD areas, can be brought up to speed with the rest of the country. Not on a 0.5%. I mean, that is hardly a drop in the ocean. It does not work. But I would want that to be revisited to a level like 5 or 10%, but over a period of time that is already determined, which does not extend forever, but just enough to bring those areas up to speed with the rest of the country.
Right, and maybe just to take you on that winner takes it all proposal, which is meant to be solved by this current document, should it be implemented. And one might argue that having the leader of opposition now back in the House is, a positive move. However, we had the leader of opposition before the Constitution 2010, and that still did not, resolve. So how is that really going to help us, given that we have had it before, but it still left us, worrying when it comes to election time?
Well, the leader of the opposition in the pre-2010 constitution itself was just a leader by name. But the leader of what has to be done right now, having the leader of the opposition in parliament, is going to be somebody who has, or basically you have a shadow government, you have a shadow cabinet, you have shadow leaders who are there to critique the government and respond to everything the government does. And they have their own privileges, both on the floor of the House and even outside, in the sense that they will be facilitated for them to have research assistants, or people who are going to do research, people who are going, they're there as a government in waiting. And they have to be facilitated for them to be able to hold the government accountable. So right now, in these new changes, I have a feeling that they will be properly taken care of, so that, you know, we have a proper opposition that functions, that it does not have to have the legacy of the government or the working government or the working executive, but whose rights and privileges are guaranteed.
Come to you, Bobby, and this,
Yes.
of course, as it is right now, is a document which has yet got to go through a process for it to be implemented. Kindly run us through that so that we're not here thinking that this is actually now law and is what is expected, but there is still a procedure required for us to have this now taken up as, amendments to the Constitution.
Definitely, and I think we had the former Prime Minister mentioned that this bill will be, and I think from his proposal, subjected to a popular initiative way of amending the Constitution, because there are two ways: either you do it through Parliament or you do it through Wananchi, where you collect signatures, etc. And we saw it during Ekuru Okoth's led Punguza Mizigo initiative. So that is one way, and I think that is what has been proposed. And then beyond that, eventually Kenyans will have to either affirm or reject these proposals through a referendum. However, I would like to go back and perhaps touch on what Mheshimiwa had previously said in terms of expansion of the national executive, an attempt to repair the winner-takes-all paradigm for him, which issues that stand out. And to me, I didn't mention them because I don't think they do stand out, and I don't think, unfortunately, as the proposals are nested in the document, they go to repair this. Because one, definitely any election, whether within a parliamentary, presidential, or whatever process, is a competition, and the competition must deliver a winner. And when it comes to the formation of governments, it's the one who, or the person, or the party, or the parties that do win the elections, that do get to run a government. They are the ones that control and plan how resources are going to be used. And so I think we need to disabuse our minds from this notion that there is a formulation that ensures that the winner doesn't take all. And that's why parties campaign, and they campaign all over the country with a view of getting a majority, and if possible, winning all the seats. And that is the nature of politics. Secondly, there are a number of technical issues that also do come out from the proposal.
Let me just pause you there, maybe just to get full clarity of what you mean, because some might argue that the leader of opposition and the opposition now having a funded and structured way of checking and keeping government in check helps us as a country, that if government is there and they're not performing, then the opposition is officially there, as opposed to now where the minute you lose, you're basically out of the race for the next 5 years. You only speak from the outside, so to speak.
And you see, this is the notion that we think that it is a position that ensures that the opposition has some say in what it says, that we are saying that we are going to fund the office of the leader of opposition, and not that the opposition and the people that voted for the opposition are going to get resources equitably. That is what matters. It is not that there is a leader of national or a leader of opposition. And for that matter, even in our presidential system that we have now, it's not that we don't have a leader of opposition in parliament. We have the leader of the minority who plays that role in parliament of ensuring that the opposition parties do organize their voice and strategies against the presiding government. So I think these are things that we need to look at. Again, we are saying that the leader of opposition, who is going to be in parliament and to check parliament, government in parliament, is going to be the person who loses during the presidential election. And we still have a president. So you have the runner-up of the presidential election being delegated to be the leader of opposition, to be playing ball with the prime minister, who is the leader of parties or coalition of parties, or that got the majority of votes and seats during the election. And so there are questions around whether we are never going to have a place where the leader of opposition or the is again the popular candidate after the presidential election. So there are certain incongruences that come out of the technical sitting that has been proposed.
Okay. Let me hear from Honorable Maalim, particularly gleaning from your political experience as a politician, how you feel that this new position would resolve our long-standing problem that we've had since independence of unfair elections, because really that sometimes is what brings us to the verge of civil war, where we have what people feel is an unfair system that rewards a majority, and of course the IEBC also has a role to play in this. But your thoughts on how the leader of opposition or that position is going to resolve our problem as Kenya?
You see, there's a lot that's going to be in the details, and I think the drafting of the operationalization bills and the constitutional amendments is going to be a very tricky thing. For example, it says the Prime Minister will be from the party that has the majority in Parliament. And now, if the Prime Minister is going to be the party that has the majority in the Parliament, then you can envisage a scenario similar to the French one, in which the President, who is going to be popularly elected, might not be from the majority party. He could be from a party that does not have the numbers on the floor of the House. So if the Prime Minister is going to be from that, the party that has and is going to be a member of Parliament, are we reverting back to the original? What is going to be exactly the system? It's a bit tricky, and I'm sure there's going to be a very robust debate on that, because if the president is going to be, in addition to being running for the presidency of the country, also a member of Parliament for a constituency, and the loser is also going to be a member of Parliament from a constituency, and invariably the leader of the opposition, then you could have a situation in which the president is from the ruling, is the president, he has the popular votes, and he's from a party that essentially does not have the numbers, and his opponent in the general elections could be the Prime Minister.
All right. And
this has got to be clarified, and I think a lot is going to do with the deal with how this is going to be done in the drafting of the referendum questions, as well as the amendments to the Constitution itself. Now, having said that, which is still in the details, the devil is still in the details, we don't know how it's going to work out in the end. But having said that, when you have a leader of the opposition, okay, if you're going to have the Prime Minister coming from the opposition because of having the numbers in Parliament, then there is not going to be any need to have a leader of the opposition on the floor of the House again.
Right.
And how are we going to work out on that? That's going to be an issue. That's going to be an issue.
Okay, and sorry to interrupt you, Mheshimiwa, and obviously there's a lot of discourse that needs to be discussed, but we are running out of time, and I'd like us to maybe just summarize and get your closing comments. I'll start with you, Bobby, on the way forward, and possibly as an advisory note from a lawyer to the citizenry of what we should expect. Now that the report has been given to the principals, what is the expected trajectory that we should expect?
Well, I think, as I said earlier, it's positive that the report is out and the bill is out. So now we can have a constructive, informed debate. And I think that's what Kenyans should engage in, probably through various, state and non-state organs. I think this is a space now for civil society organizations to organize Kenyans and then to sit down and debate so that they can understand the content of the document. Because at the end of the day, whether it's going to be through a parliamentary initiative or it's going to be through a popular initiative, Kenyans will have to decide through their representatives or through their own accord in a referendum. And so it is very, very, very important for Kenyans. And I hope this document will reach many.
Right.
And so that they can read and discuss. And I hope that we can also have many of such discussions through our media so that we can reach as many Kenyans
as many people as possible. Honorable Farah Maalim, thank you. Honorable Farah Maalim, your closing remarks very briefly, please.
My closing remarks, well, but basically, this thing does not have any other way around. It has to be a popular, choice. That's the only thing that's going to give the legitimacy that's required in this country, which means you don't have to go to Parliament and seek Parliament to approve this constitution. We will have to go, certain provisions of the amendments or certain issues of amendment themselves does not allow this thing to be done through Parliament or any legislative body. It has to go to the people. The process has to be the collection of signatures all the way to the final referendum itself. But I have a feeling that there's going to be a serious debate from this afternoon, from today, and progressively you will see that at the end of the day, I think the document will also have will be a product that essentially will remove a lot of doubts that we do have right now in terms of a constitutional
Right.
press.
Thank you.
Because there are too many things that have got to be clarified so that there is no controversy.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Evidently, it is still early for us to get into the nitty-gritties of this particular debate, given that it was only tabled yesterday and presented yesterday. But, of course, we're going to continue debating and deliberating as we continue on that. So that's where we're going to wind up the show. But before that, just taking a look at what the responses are regarding our question earlier on what you feel about the document and some of the things you agree or disagree with. Trix?
Malwa Nixon watching from Moisbridge, Wareng, who says, Wareng Wholesale says this BBI will not solve any political matters. So he has already dismissed it. But of course, a couple of you have also talked about this situation. Let me see what we have here. We have Solomon Ambuku, who says, don't force down Kenyans' throat. And he feels like we should reject the BBI. He further says the goodies flaunted in the BBI report only require policy changes. Dagger in cloth is the reserved posts that he feels that this was just for a few, it's for the good of a few and not the entire country. Then we have Northern Frontier people saying